such as girls' school dropouts and unsafe abortion wey dey threaten women's lives. If men dey involved, supporting sexual and reproductive health and rights matter, e go empower women and adolescent girls to make informed choices about their health and go make dem carry belle by choice. The 10,000 men give belle by choice go start 1st of September to 30th December 2024 in Nigeria. If you be man, woman, young girl or boy, join our movement to build a future where choices are made. For more information and inquiries about the campaign program, contact Martina Ebre on 0704 806 5486. Together, let us build a safe environment for women and adolescent girls. Remember, belle now by choice, not by force. Belle by Choice movement is brought to you by AGE and other young women groups with support from the African Women Development Fund. Alright, the last time we met on the show, we talked about all of the things, you need to know about PrEP and PEP, which are preventive tools when it comes to HIV. However, today on the show, we'll be talking about stigma, silence, and HIV disclosure among married and unmarried people. Anyways, if you're joining us for the very first time, you know that this is that program where we get to talk about our sexual and reproductive health. And joining me on Chat4Health today, I have Sheila Monica Makonda, MPH, Public Health and Women Empowerment Advocate. It's so good to have you on the show today, Sheila. How are you doing today? Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Blessing.
Hi.
It's an honor for me to be on the program today.
Thank you very, very much for being a part of the conversation. We do appreciate you. Let me start the conversation this way. Talking about HIV, do you think that the fear of violence hinders the disclosure of HIV status?
Thank you, Blessing. Of course, the fear of violence is a very significant barrier to disclosing one's HIV status. And for many individuals, especially women who are in abusive or controlling relationships, the risk of physical, emotional, or financial abuse upon disclosure can be very overwhelming. So they look at all these things and they think, if I disclose, I may lose out on a marriage, I may lose out on a relationship. So it brings in that fear. So this fear is heightened, especially in cultures or communities where stigma surrounding HIV is very prevalent and where the blame for transmission is usually unfairly placed on women. Research has actually shown that fear of intimate partner violence is a primary reason why individuals avoid disclosure. Thank you, Martin.
All right, and thank you very, very much for your thoughts on the show today. Now, for partners who are already living with HIV, what is the best way to discuss one's HIV status with one's partner?
Well, it's usually a very tricky situation because discussing HIV status with a partner is something that most people find very challenging. So the best way to undertake this is to have a bit of sensitivity. It requires some sensitivity and also some timing and a lot of preparation on the part of the partner who's doing the disclosure. So basically, I think it's important to start with the basics, such as the importance of knowing one's status, to talk about prevention and treatment options, and just to be honest and be direct. You communicate the facts calmly, stating the reassurances that, disclosure comes from a place of trust, So at that same time, it's important also if the other partner is not able to do it on their own, it's always advisable to seek support. Consider involving a counselor or healthcare professional to facilitate the conversation, especially if there are concerns about potential negative reactions.
All right, and thank you very much for your thoughts on the show for today. I really do appreciate you. 07009179117. That is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. Send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 0703-175-6537. Log into our website at www.bfm917.com. Download the mobile app BFM917. Send your thoughts to our social media platforms, the BFM 917. And also, if you are just joining us, you're listening to Chat4Health on Radio 91.7. Chat4Health is that program we can talk about our reproductive and sexual health. And today on the show, I have Sheila Monica Makonda, a public health and women empowerment advocate, and we have been talking about stigma, silence, and the HIV disclosure among married and unmarried people. My name is Blessing Anita. Now, Sheila, I would like to know, is there any intersection between gender-based violence and HIV?
Yes, Blessing. There's a well-documented intersection between GBV and HIV. Yeah, because survivors of sexual violence are at high risk of HIV infection, due to unprotected sex. There's also the fear of violence or coercion, which prevents individuals from accessing HIV prevention tools, such as condoms, PrEP, or even seeking timely testing and treatment. So, because they are being in this abusive relationship, an individual's ability to negotiate for safer sex, increasing their susceptibility to HIV. Similarly, an HIV diagnosis can put the person at risk of experiencing violence in some relationships, because then some men feel that the woman is the one that brought in the HIV, so usually that puts them prone to being abused in these relationships.
All right, 070-917-917. That is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. Now, we have explained the intersection between gender-based violence and HIV. So I'd also like to ask, is there a link between sexual violence and the increased risk of HIV transmission?
A very, very big link, sexual violence significantly increases the risk of HIV transmission, because sexual violence often involves unprotected sex, which increases the exposure to the virus, the physical trauma from being forced to have sex can cause genital trauma, making it easy for the virus to enter the body. And also, survivors may lack access to timely PrEP, a critical intervention for preventing HIV infection after exposure. Perpetrators of sexual violence often have this power over their victims, further limiting the survivor's ability to seek help or disclose their assault to any other person. So there's a very big link.
So are you saying that by any chance, being exposed to sexual violence has a way of making someone more vulnerable to HIV transmission?
Exactly, Blessing. Exactly. It makes them more prone, actually. Those who are in these relationships where there's violence are more prone, actually, to find themselves in situations where they contract the HIV virus.
All right. 070-917-917. That is the number to call to be part of the conversation. Send us a text and a WhatsApp message on 703-175-6537. Log into our website at www.wfm917.com. Download your mobile app, WFM917. Send your thoughts to our social media platforms, WFM 917. My name is Blessing. I'm and this is Chat4Health. My country people, Believe by Choice movements don't come again. It's an annual Believe by Choice campaign. That 10,000 men give Believe by Choice. Let's be first challenge. We will reach 10,000 men, we won't base them. The various communities with the right information on how they feel support women and girls' sexual and reproductive health and be informed on modern contraception and family planning matter to end unwanted pregnancies. We will make our papa, husbands, uncles, and brothers know so women and adolescent girls get right to their body and make them join hands to end rape, child marriage, sexual violence, and cancer related cause such as girls' school dropout and unsafe abortion really threaten women's lives. If men be involved and supporting sexual and reproductive health and rights matter, it can empower women and adolescent girls to make informed choices about their health and to make them carry the law by choice. The 10,000 men give the law by choice will start 1st of September to 30th December 2024 in Nigeria. If you be man, woman, young girl or boy, join our movement to build a future where choices are made. For more information and inquiries about the campaign program, contact Martina Ebel on 0704 806 5486. Together, let us build a safe environment for women and adolescent girls. Remember, Believe by Choice, leads by force. Believe by Choice movement is brought to you by Age and other young women groups them with support from the African Women Development Fund. Our 16 minutes for 7 from Energy 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. Get to know that you're still there, tuned into this now. And yes, if you are just joining us, you're listening to Chat4Health and Women Within 91.7. This is a program where we get to talk about everything that has to do with sexual and reproductive health, and we do this to ensure that you stay safe and empowered. The program is proudly sponsored by Age Network in partnership with PEPFAR Nigeria, Gilead Science, and AWDF. My name is Blessing, and with and today on the show I have Sheila Monica Makonde, MBH Public Health and Women Empowerment Advocate. And yesterday we were talking about stigma, silence, and HIV disclosure among married and unmarried people. She has been able to establish thus far the correlation or intersection between gender-based violence and HIV, and she has also been able to establish the fact that when individuals, or let me say victims and survivors of sexual violence, are usually prone to increased risk of HIV transmission. Alright, Sheila, let me come to you for a moment. What are the main reasons why people are always afraid of disclosing their HIV status to their partners?
Thank you, Blessing. There are quite a number of reasons. Sometimes it's fear of rejection.
Okay.
If I disclose my status, will this person, with this man, or with this my husband or my wife or my girlfriend or boyfriend, will they leave me? Will they judge me? So there's always that fear that if I tell them my situation right now, are they going to accept it or are they going to reject it? So sometimes they end up not disclosing for fear of just being rejected. And sometimes it's no stigma. These negative societal attitudes that people have towards people living with HIV can deter people from wanting to come out and disclose their HIV status. And other reasons could be, violence or abuse, like fear of retaliation from the partner, that when they hear that my partner is HIV positive, some people become violent. It's usually their first reaction. So people now feel they're afraid to actually disclose their status, and they also fear to be blamed, and accused. Oh, you did this and this, you brought this disease into the home, you are the notorious one, you are the promiscuous one. So all these reasons, make people just not be free or not want to disclose their HIV status to their partners.
Okay, so Sheila, I'm just thinking, isn't it better to just come clean to talk about your HIV status and give people the opportunity to make their choices, right? I mean, seeing that all of these reasons are why people don't want to disclose their status, I mean, to some people they see it as being selfish, right? You know already that this is your status at the moment, and not telling the other person is putting the other person in a tight situation. I mean, there are instances that people would come out to tell their partners, okay, this is what it is. If at that point they are allowed to make their own choices, so the choice they make could either be to stay and get drugs or the medication that would make them negative or keep them negative if they're still negative, and then some people will decide to walk away. Don't you think having conversations about one's status would give the partners the power to make their choices as against being selfish?
You're very right, Blessing, actually. It's the best choice, because at the end of it all, whether someone discloses it or not, it doesn't take away the fact that they're HIV positive. Mm-hmm. And then the longer they stay without disclosing it, the more they put their partner at risk. Because if you disclose your status early, it means that you give the other person those options. Like you said, they can decide to stay or they can decide to go. If they decide to stay, we now look at the treatment options that are available. Right now, there are a lot of treatment options for HIV people. So you give them that option. And if you are discussing this in a calm and from a point of trust, from a point of remorse, and if the partner that is disclosing is able to show that they are trustworthy and they are saying this because they want the best for the relationship, disclosure is the best thing that they can do for that couple.
A disclosure is the best thing they can do at that point in time. And I'm just going to add my voice to what Sheila said. It is very important that we come out clean when we are in relationships. Let people know that this is what they are dealing with. This is what they are going into, because I'm just trying to imagine someone being in a relationship and then the partner who is positive is now saying, oh, because I don't want to be stigmatized, I don't want people to look at me a certain way, I don't want to be rejected, and the person keeps mum and then said nothing about the status, putting the other person at risk. And I think that is not fair enough. So, and this is exactly why we're having this conversation, to make people know that it is not a death sentence. The fact that you have HIV is not the end of the world for you. It doesn't mean life has ended for you. You can still go on to do really great and amazing things for yourself. Now, Sheila, let me come to you. What role does trust play? Exactly what we're talking about now, about coming out clean, to have conversations about one's status, to talk about it with one's partner and what have you. So what role does trust play when it comes to having an open conversation about HIV with your partner, and how can it be established and maintained?
In this matter, I think trust is the foundation, actually, for discussing sensitive issues like HIV. Couples must learn to be open and honest in all aspects of the relationship. They need to communicate effectively, and especially, show empathy towards your partner's feelings and concerns. Because, like we've spoken, if the other person knows that they are HIV positive, they should put themselves in the other person's shoes. How would they feel if their other partner did not tell them that they were HIV positive. So when you put yourself in another person, when you show that empathy, then you are able to come to a place where you can openly tell the other person your status, and then come to a point where you are communicating effectively. So having open conversations with your partner is the best way to go. And to establish this, there must be that consistency, where you demonstrate that this is something that you want to do. You're coming from a point of trust, that you respect confidentiality. And then you also provide that emotional support, because the other person does not know about it. You are the person that knows, and you have just disclosed that to the other person. So it may come as a bombshell to the other person. So you need to give the other person grace, room to also feel those emotions, but be supportive. Be ready to listen, you create a supportive environment, a non-judgmental and understanding approach, because it's not every time that when you disclose to the partner, that partner is going to just smile away. They'll probably react in different ways. But the partner that is disclosing must give them the opportunity and that support, and just listen in and continue to support. It will foster that trust, and it will maintain that openness. And I think it strengthens that bond, because trust ensures that both partners can address challenges. They need to, at some point, discuss what is the next step. Like you said, Blessings, this is not a death sentence. We have all kinds of treatments that are available. People are living their lives. They are living so many years in their HIV positive status and doing amazing things afterwards. So these are things that couples must come together, must decide, and move forward in a way that brings them together, in a sense of what a blessing.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that one, Sheila. Honestly, this has been an insightful conversation. As we wrap up on the show today, what would you say, or what would you describe as the emotional and mental impact of hiding one's HIV status due to fear of rejection or violence? I know you've touched on this earlier, but I would like you to revisit it again.
I think, it's not the right way to go, because it leads to significant emotional and mental health challenges. First, for the person who is hiding their status, because you're holding on to this big thing alone, you have this stress and anxiety because you don't know who to ask. You don't know where to get your help from. When there's so much help out there, we have so many organizations that have opened doors, that are willing to address any fear that anybody might have regarding their status. So we are constantly worried about the secret being discovered. So we are not free. You are always stressed. It could lead to depression, feeling of being isolated, because you feel like nobody understands you. You have this, you start stigmatizing yourself, you feel helpless, and you have this constant guilt, because you don't know, you don't know what to do. You have not told your partner, you have not told your friends and family, who are your greatest support system. Because we tell people that, in this, when you're diagnosed with HIV, it's not a death sentence. And there's all this support system that is around you, in the healthcare workers, the community, the family and friends. It just goes to how you decide to take it. So keeping this thing to yourself is not the best thing to do. It will give a sense of unworthiness, and it might even impact your actual health. Your health will deteriorate because you're constantly stressed, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Alright, thank you very, very much, Sheila. It has been an insightful conversation with you on Chat4Health today. Thank you very much for enlightening us on what we need to know about the stigma, the science, and HIV disclosure among married and unmarried people. Do you want to enjoy the rest of your evening?
Thank you, Blessing. It's been an awesome time that I've had. It's always good to go out there and, discuss the best way to go,
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, there you have it. And today's edition of Chat4Health has brought to you by Age Network and Gilead Science, and of course AWDF. Many thanks to our guest once again, Sheila Monica Makonde, Public Health and Women Empowerment Advocate. And many thanks to you as well for being on that other side. I hope you have been able to pick one or two things from today's conversation. So let's do this again next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Blessing Aburito. Good evening.